Not stall any longer. We have Mr. Brian Fode's interview with the head basketball coach for the men's.
Yep.
Men's head basketball coach.
And it was a good interview, and they should have a good season, and we'll bring that to you right now on Cardinal Sports Live. Which player do you feel has improved the most this offseason from last year?
In terms of improvement, it's really hard to say to this point. We've only been practicing for a week. But I think they've all been working hard. You know, I think they've all come in with a renewed energy, and they want to make amends for what was a down year for the program last year. I think they've all come in with an increased sense of awareness of what it'll take to get back to contention for playoffs and so forth. So I can't single out one guy that I would say at this point is the most improved. Until the games start, it's almost too early to tell.
Last season, the team missed a lot of free throws. Have you guys done anything in practice to improve on that, or are you just keeping this extra practice, more practice?
Well, you know, that's a funny dynamic. You know, it's something coaches talk about constantly. You know, shooting tons of them doesn't necessarily mean you'll get better at it, and so it's something it's kind of an individual confidence issue. And I think that a year of experience and a year of confidence that we're you know, the outcome of this game is going to be more positive for us. I think that you step to the line with a little more confidence. That being said, we do have two junior college players that I think have more game experience that at the end of games could step in and make some free throws as well. But you know, free throws are it's a funny thing with them. You know, you start out the season making them. I think you'll continue. You know, so hopefully we'll get off to a real good start with our free throws.
Okay. You mentioned two new junior college transfers. Can you tell us a little bit about the new incoming players this year for the team?
Well, one of them actually was here last year, Carl Munnerlin, and Carl had a hurt knee the entire season, so he didn't play last year. He came to us from Fulton Montgomery. He will play this year. He's shaking some rust off right now with conditioning and so forth of having sat out a year, but he's going to be a very good player. Steve Thomas came to us from Clinton Community College. He was an all-region player for Region 3. Really explosive scorer, jumps very well. And our third newcomer is a freshman, Ryan Poirier from Vermont. Ryan is a real strong, physically strong freshman, learning every day, and his contributions will probably come down the line for the program, but he's working hard as well.
Okay, Kedema Brooks started all the games for you last year as a freshman. What do you expect from him from this year going into his sophomore season?
Well, if you look at Kedema's stats from last year, at one point he was almost 2 turnovers to 1 assist, and as the season ended, he ended up 2 assists to 1 turnover. So from the midpoint on, he had a 4-to-1 ratio assist to turnover. So we expect him to pick up right where he left off in terms of, okay, the learning curve is now over. He's got that out of, you know, at the beginning of the year he would try to just go through people instead of using a retreat dribble a little bit, and you know, learn when to go and when to pull back a little bit. So by any measure, he had an outstanding freshman year. But his level of improvement from the first game to the last game was immense. So we expect him to pick it up right where he left off, just in terms of taking care of the ball and finding the right players at the right times and making good decisions with it.
Also, what teams in the SUNYAC conference do you feel are going to be your biggest competition this year, and who are you guys going to prepare? What's the conference outlook, do you think, in your opinion?
Well, I think that it's you can never tell with who anybody has coming back, but Fredonia has a lot coming back, and they had a good finish to the season last year. They've got 4 returning starters. Cortland has a lot of size returning. It's funny, you talked about free throws earlier. They were the only team in the country worse free throw shooting than us, so they've got some things to work out too, but Cortland's going to be very tough. But Brockport returns a lot of guys, and they won the conference last year. This conference is up in the air, believe me. New Pulse started out on fire last year, lost 2 kids to grades. Those kids are coming back, so they're going to come back in as strong as, you know, it's impossible to say. As a matter of fact, it's so impossible that the coaches about 4 or 5 years ago said we're not going to do a preseason coaches poll anymore because it gets turned on its head every time we do it. So that it's just so unpredictable that even the coaches who have been in the league for years and years can't determine or can't predict who's going to be strong. So you just want to come out of the gates early and get off to a good start and strong finish.
And finally, what are the expectations for this team this year that returns a lot of starters, all of them pretty much from last year, and how do you feel that you guys can do this year?
Well, the first thing is that we were all disappointed in not making the playoffs last year. It was something that we felt as though if we could have snuck in at the end, we had to win our last 2 games to get into the playoffs. We did. And then we had to have some other teams lose. They ended up not losing. But last year, the 8th seed, 8 teams make it, the playoffs, the number 8 seed actually won the conference tournament. So we felt as though if we can get in, we can win it. And that was borne out simply by the nature of the conference. So initially, it will not be a successful year if we don't make the playoffs. And then once you're in the playoffs, it's a whole new season again. And at that point, once you're in, you've got as good a shot as anybody. And that's last year, the first, second, and fourth seed all lost in the first round. So that's just the way our conference is in men's basketball. And so, the 8th seed won it. So you just have to get into the playoffs. Get in the playoffs. And for us to start out with that as a goal, I think it's very achievable with the talent we have. It's something that the second goal is to get a home game. The third goal is to host the semifinals and finals. So that's, it's one goal after one goal feeds off the other. But initially, right now, it's our desire really to prove that we are definitely a bona fide playoff team.
And with that, I'll wrap things up. Thank you, Coach Tom Curle, for your time, and good luck this season.
Thank you very much.
It was an interesting interview you had there with the coach.
Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. It was a good experience. They got a lot of hard work ahead of them. They're still, he said, as we said, first question, they got a ways to go, but they should be on the rise this year. Look for a team on the rise. And one player in particular to watch for, I think, this year is going to be junior transfer Steve Thomas. He's going to have, talking to one of the assistant coaches, Steve Mastel, his student manager, he says he's playing really well, and him and Chris Weeds, according to him, are 2 studs on this team. So they should be good and looking to go.
So off your interview, what do you think the men's basketball team record will be this year?
Going on this year, I mean, from last year, it depends. It all depends on what they're going to do this year. I mean, Coach Curle, when he said in the interview, he doesn't know. I was talking to him before. He wants to. He has a good athletic team that can run. But he also has a good 6'10" center in R.J. Ponesi, who may not be he has to decide whether he wants to go big and play feature R.J. down low, or does he want to run with the team that he got. In my opinion, from what I saw last year, I think they're going to be much more of a run and gun team because Ruiz can pull up with that mid-range jumper, and Steve Thomas, from what I hear, is an athletic freak, so he's going to do good. And I think they're going to be more of a run. Of course, they're going to start RJ because he's 6'10", and I mean, how could you not start him in the beginning of the season and just give him some touches? But you come down, and this year I think they can get a little better. I mean, they finished 8-16 last year, and this year, I mean, the conference is looking like not as strong as Brockport returns. I mean, just like he said, if you can get into the playoffs, Brockport was the 8th seed, and they won the conference last year. So if Plattsburgh can just find the way to sneak in, they can make some noise. And I mean, 2 years ago with Anthony Williams, they won the conference and went all the way in the NCAA tournaments pretty far before they got knocked out. So who knows? I think this year they'll be, if I had to give a prediction, I'll go 9-7 in the conference, 16 games, and I'll go with about they play 25 games, so I'll go 16-11, something along the range like that. Go 9-7, so something along the range like that, and that's my prediction for the team this year. A little better, a much better improvement from last year.
You heard it from Brian Fode's mouth first. 16-11. 16-11. But we have.